am a film and television student at Humber College and a digital content creator here at the Life at Humber team. So welcome to today's We Got You live chat. This is totally new for us, so if we experience any little technical difficulties, just bear with us and we'll fix them right away and get right back to the stream. So if you're also watching this, replay the video, comment down below and say replay. We'd love to hear some of them from you guys and folks. So let's just begin. I'll have everyone here introduce themselves, their role at Humber, and maybe share a TV show or two that they're binging right now. Sadiya, what are you up to?
Hello, everyone. My name is Sadiya. My pronouns are she, her, and hers. I'm in my final year of Bachelor of Creative Advertising. I'm also a digital content creator for the First Year Experience North team, and I'm a senior orientation leader for the orientation team. And a show that I'm currently binging would have to be Queen's Gambit. It is so fascinating, and I'm not gonna lie, it makes chess look so cool that I actually started to learn how to play chess, and I feel like such a smart person.
So cool.
What about you, Ian?
Oh, wow. Thanks, Sadiya. Hi, my name's Ian Crookshank, and I work as the Dean of Students. And I use the pronouns he and him. And binging TV right now, two things. So one is The Mandalorian.
Okay,
I'm a Star Wars nerd at heart and have been for a very, very long time. And then we're watching Queen of the South on Netflix pretty much every night, which is all about, well, it's just drama. That's what it's really all about. Let's be serious. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Valentina, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Ian. And thanks, everybody. My name is Valentina. Feel free to call me Val. My pronouns are she and her. I am a Bachelor of Behavioral Sciences student in my second year, third semester, and I am a senior peer mentor for FYE. My current TV show that I am binging is actually a little bit of an older one. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Great show. If you haven't seen it, absolutely obsessed.
That's amazing. I'm gonna make a note of that right now.
Yeah.
We're all writing it down.
I hear like such good things about that show, but I never watch it. But I feel like
it's good.
I'm gonna enjoy it a lot.
Perfect. Yeah, we got a lot of different hats here. It's amazing to see. Just to give my little TV show or pronouns as well. I use he and him, and a TV show that my roommate started watching. I've already finished the show, but she's watching it again, so I'm rewatching it as well. It's Umbrella Academy.
So good.
It's a really good show. It's actually, I think most of it is filmed in Hamilton, so it's also filmed in Canada, which is also really cool. So really enjoying that one at the moment and rewatching, I think, the first and second season. So that's what I've been up to. But thank you everyone for sharing that. Moving on to a little bit of our chat. It's Wellness Month here at Humber College, and with the winter announcement being out for students continuing their studies at home, we thought it would be a good idea to have a little good chill conversation about connecting online. So for folks at home, get cozy with us here, grab a coffee, grab a drink, a little snack. Maybe you got some Halloween candy that you got on the weekend. There you go, Sadiya's showing us what's happening there.
Staying hydrated.
So, exactly, you gotta stay hydrated, everyone. So if you have any questions for us and you're tuning in, send us into the chat and we'll get to them at the end. So let's just get started. So how's everyone connecting with folks virtually?
Who wants to start?
Up to you. Do you want to start, Sadiya? I could go first. It doesn't matter to me.
I'm good with whatever. Valentina, why don't you lead the way?
Sure. So for me, since I am working alongside FYE and even without working at the college just as a student, I find 3 platforms really useful. I know everybody's different, but my go-to right now is Microsoft Teams, is how I go about chatting with everybody virtually. Mm-hmm. Blackboard Collaborate is another great one, especially if you're in classes online, you're using it all the time. And WhatsApp is actually super useful as well, as far as just a social text format. For me, those are the 3 main ways that I'm connecting with students.
Oh, really? How is WhatsApp? Can you like video call on that, or is it just like for a big messenger group?
Yeah, mainly we're using it as like a big messaging, I guess, area. But as far as like hosting sessions for FYE or as a student, we're doing it through Microsoft Teams and Blackboard, but mainly Microsoft Teams is the one that we can host a lot of people on. And we haven't really had any disruptions either, which is great.
That's good, yeah, because I know there's some other places people can have group chats, stuff like Snapchat, but then like your messages are like left within sometimes 24 hours or something like that, and it just
Right.
goes away, and teachers are asking like, oh, like where's like all your brainstorming? You're like, well, it's gone. And then Instagram messages can be a little bit of the same thing. Like if you have lots of people, it's always like pinging at your phone, and notifications are just driving a little bit crazy, but everyone's got their preference.
That's true. For me, I've actually been using Google Meets for a lot of to connect with not just like my friends, but also for group projects and stuff, because from there, we have a lot of like brainstorming sessions and we design a lot of things. So we're able to create like an art board there, which you can end up saving as a PDF, which makes our life so much more easier. So Google Meets is actually really good. We can also share our screen. Like me and a couple of my friends the other night, we were watching a movie. So for some odd reason, our Netflix party wasn't working. So I just shared the screen and with the audio, and we just watched the movie like that. So that was really fun. So that's one of the things that I use to stay connected. But of course, Instagram and TikTok, because I'm always sending my friends TikTok and some things that whenever we find something funny, because school's been really stressful. And if there's any time we can make each other laugh by sending a funny TikTok or meme, that's one of the platforms that we use.
Yeah, it's awesome. Sending TikToks, just like, a little video every once in a while, it just brightens everyone's day. You have a little
really
cute
does.
doggo, and you're just like, I need that.
Yeah.
What was it you said there? Was it Google
Meets?
Google Meets. Wow, I've
Yeah.
never actually used that. So when you were saying using it to share the movies, was there any like lag or anything with that? Or
well, because you're still using the internet to stream it in a way. There might be some lagging here and there, but it all depends on like your internet connectivity.
for
But
sure.
other than that, no, we had like no issues whatsoever. Only when like my Wi-Fi decided to just be rude to me and just made me freeze for like 10 seconds. But other than that, super duper
Smooth
great.
experience.
Yeah, very smooth.
That's amazing.
Experience.
Yeah, I know one way that me and my friends have tried it. We've actually tried FaceTiming and then like trying to play at the same time. So you're like there trying to like start at the same time, like 3, 2, 1, go, and then So it's kind of funny that way too. Ian, what about you?
That's funny. Work is mostly Microsoft Teams, right? Because that's what the college is using. It's interesting that every school uses something different. So I've connected with colleagues on Zoom, Google Meets as well, for some of the Google campuses that I connected with. So that's interesting. Personal life, connecting with friends mostly over Zoom.
Okay.
So I've got a group of friends that I've had since the university days, and we connect probably more often now, I think, than we did before this all happened, because I think we've been kind of forced to do it. Whereas before we used to do it personally. Now we're like once or twice a year. Now it's once a month. We sit down for an hour and a half and talk about the world's problems or whatever is kind of going on, and that's completely different than it used to be. Whereas we used to get together, as I said, like once or twice a year and see each other. Now it's like once a month. Somebody puts out the call and says, "Hey, let's get together. We haven't talked in a while," and it's been pretty awesome. So, yeah,
it's actually amazing. My dad said the same thing. He's like, because his friends are spread over all of Ontario, and I'm originally from Ottawa, so he's like, we don't get to see each other a lot, but they have like meetings every like week, every Saturday night. They get together, they hang out, and he loves it. So. And a little bit of a less professional one, I guess, like personal for me is, since I am from Ottawa, I have a neighbor that I used to hang out like all the time with, like one of my best friends. And what we do now is we actually play video games together, even though it's not really the video games that bring us together. It's more just being able to talk to each other as we're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that helps for us. We get on it for, maybe every once a week or so, and we just play some video games. And that's really nice for us to be able just to have that chat.
I gotta ask, are you playing Among Us with your friends?
I've actually never played that game before. I've seen so much about it. I want to try it, but I've never actually tried it.
Same, neither have I. But I've seen so many of my friends play it, and apparently it's really fun to play. But I'm not a video game person, but I feel like I'd enjoy it a lot because I'm gonna be like, who was it? Who's the one?
It seems like a very good concept of trying to see who did what, and especially when you get like little meetings, like no one can talk to each other, and then you have these meetings, and that's when all the havoc just starts, and you all just start going at each other of like who did what. But
you're definitely like testing friendships, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those games. Awesome. Well, if you want, we can jump to the next question here. How have you been contacting virtually or connecting, sorry, with people at Humber and folks in events?
I can take this one. So because I work for the orientation team and the first year experience team, we have a lot of like events happening throughout the whole semester. Like the North Campus and the Lakeshore Campus, we have like events happening every other week. Throughout, so from like September to the end of our semester now. And one of the ways that we really like connect with students is just using social media and to just promote our events. We also have blogs, newsletters, just different ways that we can just reach out to students. And we always tell them that if you have any questions about anything, definitely like send us a DM. So it's great to see students reaching out to us, asking for advice. And also because first year experience is all about peer mentoring. We have so many students and amazing senior peer mentors such as Val and peer mentors who are dedicating their time to help out first year students to make their transition into Humber a little bit better. And they're really doing their part to connect with their students even more virtually this year. And I think that's absolutely incredible.
Mm-hmm. That is super incredible. I can touch a bit on that too. Even just being the social media, as you're talking about, I feel like I know a lot what's happening now, especially knowing, having promoting all these events and knowing what's happening. I feel like I've connected with so many more people on Google, or not Google, sorry, on Teams. I've met, like, you know what I mean? I've known people, but I've never actually like came in contact and like actually worked with them. So I feel like even you, Sadiya, like I've like just met you like this summer, like working with you and stuff like that. So it's been cool to meet a lot of people online like this.
I
and
agree.
Also, yeah, and also within my program too, like I've had people who've seen our content and they message me personally, and connecting those people who are like coming to first year into my program. They're asking me questions like, what's it like at Humber? And it's really cool to see.
I agree. You're like a little celebrity, I swear.
when you become a content creator at Humber, you become a little bit celebrity. You get to noticed a bit. Yeah.
What about you, Val? How do you feel about
I
connecting?
think you covered that very well, to be honest with you. So if I were to try and build on top of that, I would just kind of say the same thing. Similar to what we were saying earlier, I use Microsoft Teams to touch base and communicate with everybody. But what I find lacks is that face-to-face communication and being able to see people on campus. And what's really unfortunate about the pandemic right now is the fact that students are able, for the most part, because most of us are online, to actually go to the campus and experience what being on campus is like, And for me, from my first year, I will never forget it. And I absolutely adored the college. I still do. And it's very different now that things are online. Not saying it's worse, but once we do get back to normal, I think that entire element of going back to campus and being involved is going to be super, super great. I'm so grateful that I work for FYE in an amazing organization where we're able to take these events and move certain things online. So I don't know if everybody knows, but for folks watching, a lot of our events have moved online. All of the events, for the most part, have moved online, especially through FYE. So we're sending out newsletters. That's another way of communication. Email, Microsoft Teams, like I said, Zoom we've done before too. But just making sure we don't lose that, personable and connection with each other, even though everything is through platforms like this and everything is online, I think is really valuable.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I feel like even though we're not able to physically be together, using the internet and all these online platforms has definitely brought us closer in a way that we probably would not have been able to before. And yeah, FYE has, for the folks watching, we have so many fun events happening throughout the semester. Just last week, we actually hosted a pumpkin carving event for Halloween, which was super duper fun. And so many students actually like messaged us through our Instagram afterwards, telling us like, oh my God, thank you so much for doing this. I had such a fun time. I definitely was really worried to see how my experience was going to be online, but you folks have definitely helped has made my experience so much more better. And honestly, like that made me so happy, because this was definitely something that I was really worried about, but I'm so glad to see that we're able to transition and still make the experiences and the connection even more online this year. So I'm really like happy and proud of like everything that Humber as a whole have been doing for their students.
Yeah,
I think that.
Oh, go ahead.
I think that point of pride is something that I'd like to jump in on, because I think it's something that you all as student ambassadors and peers should be proud of. And I think it's something that I've often talked to our team about. A point of pride for us is how quickly we were able to move service to online, and that we can provide almost everything, and in fact, probably 98% of what you could have got by being on campus, you can now access digitally. It's still, I think, to Val's point, I go to campus once or twice a week at minimum, and it just does not feel the same. And I think that's, I hold in my heart. I think many of us who work with students on an ongoing basis, that like we like to walk through the hallways and see a whole bunch of people. And you almost get a sense as to what's going on in the community just by the energy of the hallway. And you can feel, is it midterm time? Is it, is there a big thing that's stressing folks out? Is there a big holiday that is coming up that people are looking forward to, like a Halloween or something? Like, you can feel it in the hall. And right now, I mean, there are people there, but they're doing what they got to do to get to class, and then they're kind of heading home. And it's really, you just sort of lose that sense. So I'm eager to when we get back, but one of the things that I think comes out of all of this that I'm excited about is the fact that, students who may not be on campus the day that something happens can still go to the event. And like, that's something that I think we've always sort of dreamed about. How can we make that a reality, so that if I'm not able to tune in the moment that it's happening, I'll catch it later. Or if I can't physically be there, there's still a way for me to get there and be connected with people and see people and feel a part of the community. And if we can find a way to capture both when we come back, and use the best of what we've done now with the best of what we were doing before, I think that's going to be a really, like, a different and awesome experience.
Wow, that was a really good point. I didn't even think about that, like having people to be able to tune in whenever and still get all the information instead of missing the event. Because I've had that before, where I've missed an event in person, and I'm like, oh, I really wish I went to that, or I knew what time it was. But now you can still access everything. And jump into that, I'm just gonna plug our channels. Go visit Humber North FYE, Humber Lake FYE, Life at Humber. We post all of the events there if you want to go and get into some of these things. For sure.
Yeah, check us out.
Mm-hmm.
Check out Life at Humber too, man. Like,
there's lots of accounts. There's the base, which I believe is Humber Base.
Yeah,
if not,
the base.
Yeah, the base. Yeah, and you can go check that out. There's IE&E as well. There's lots of things to check out. Awesome. So talking again about virtual hangouts, what's some virtual hangout etiquette that everyone should know? This is going to be a good one.
Who wants to start?
I guess
I'll do it again.
Okay. Go ahead. You got this one. Take the lead on this one.
My first one is, please. I feel like it should be common knowledge at this point. I'm gonna be nice. Just mute your mic when you're not talking, please. So the only reason for me bringing it up is, work aside, for the most part, everybody at work is great. Everybody knows this, right? Sometimes in lectures, as a student, people won't mute themselves, and it's not just that it's distracting for the entire class, but it's also distracting for the professor because of the background noise. So just being mindful of what you're doing and what you're saying, because sometimes, like, I've heard inappropriate things being said, like sometimes they're breaking confidentiality and talking about clients. So it's like that's a huge issue. So making sure that you're muting your mic when you're not talking or when someone else has the floor, I feel like is number one. And I don't think everybody does it. Most people do, which is amazing, but not everybody does.
Yeah, I agree. I was actually going to say that too. Like, muting your mic is so important, because sometimes we don't even know, we're all doing our classes and, working from home. And sometimes there are noises and things that happen that are beyond our control. For example, I live in an apartment, and a lot of the times during the summer, I'd be having meetings, and then there'd be construction happening right outside my building, and I'd be trying to do a presentation, but you can't hear anything because all I can hear is just like the drill machine just going off. So I think one of the things, but sometimes even when I'm not speaking, but I have my mic unmuted, someone else is talking, that noise can definitely get in the way and interfere, because then I won't be able to hear what the other person is saying or anyone else is saying. So muting yourself is super duper important for sure. But I think another thing that I would say would be an etiquette would be to just arrive on time or just a couple of minutes earlier than expected, because this is something that I've learned from my online classes, because everyone will tune in right at when the class start, but then our lecture won't start until like 5 minutes after, because everyone is coming in and just like trying to chat with one another and catch up with one another. So if you can arrive a couple minutes early so you can get that conversation going, and then we can get started on the lecture, because I like to make sure everything is done on time. But that's just me just being punctual and a little bit more like a stickler. But I think arriving on time is really important for and a good etiquette to have, even if you are meeting someone in person. It's good to arrive on time or a little bit early. You should be applying that same principle to your virtual environment.
Yeah, exactly. You really hit that one. And just adding on to what you said before earlier too, not also just muting your mic, but talking or having that sort of organization when you're talking, like not everyone talking at once. Because I feel sometimes, at least especially with personal conversations, when you're on with your friends, they're just like all at once and everyone's just competing. And then with it being online, sometimes you get that distortion, so you can't really hear anything. Everyone's talking, but you can hear no one. So sometimes it can be a bit hard like that. So just being a little more civil and being like, okay, you go ahead, or everyone take their time, and don't be in so much of a rush. But
or
also,
like
as you're
raise
saying,
your hand too,
yeah,
right?
that works too. Yeah. And talking about you're saying too, like I live in an apartment in a house with my friends. So even having roommates, so talking to them like, okay, I'm going to be on this call at this time. So one of them's not, blasting music on a speaker somewhere, or because that's happened before. You're like, oh, okay, like pause, go tell them. He's like, okay, can you just turn down? Or they're having fun with their other roommates. So
I think there's to that end, I think there's a point on two things. So one is the multitasking piece, which I think we've all become accustomed to in terms of, when we're doing things, but it seems so much more evident when you're in an online environment and the person's their eyes are moving to a screen that's like somewhere like in this region, or maybe it's over there, and that they're checking their email or they're doing something, right? Because it's all right in front of you, and it's so much less obvious that you're doing different things when you're supposed to be paying attention. So like kind of be mindful of what you're doing when you're doing it, and how much time that's taking you away from what you're doing. And the other one for me, which I think is harder digitally, I think it's not, it should be our etiquette whenever we're chatting with people or hanging out, but like practice a lot of empathy. And I say that because I think we lose that here. Like a little bit of our empathy disappears through the computer screen. So like to your point about like, I have two boys that sometimes walk in and there's a moment of like, okay, just hold on a second, I have to go answer a question. Always had people who are really empathetic about, yeah, don't worry about it. Like, it's okay. We get that you're in your house and that stuff's happening. Or somebody might say something that you don't understand, and how do you respond to that in an empathetic way to get out what you need to understand or what you need to hear. I think is really important. Because you lose it. It is that piece around communicating digitally. We lose a little bit of you don't have the same feel for the person that's in the room beside you, right? So it's a different thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely understanding that everybody is at home. So having those things happen, they just happen. And even about that too, like I felt it's kind of weird positive, but having like being online, sometimes there's the miscommunication, like Wi-Fi or something, or glitches or lags. I feel like I'm kind of more comfortable to ask someone to repeat something, or even just like grab clarification, because sometimes when you're in a conversation, you're like, oh, I don't want to butt in, but just actually confirming. I feel like I've learned to be able to pop in more and say, oh, do you mind clarifying that, or re-saying something?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for all those. Yeah, those are great etiquette suggestions that people should keep in mind. Jumping on the other side of that, this is this is funny. What's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you while live?
I can go first.
Sure, go for it.
My mom, she actually runs an at-home daycare. So our apartment is always full of little ones. And there's this one little one that I absolutely adore. And he loves to like cuddle with me. Every time I open my door, he gets super duper excited because he knows that I'm going to come downstairs. So one time I was in a meeting, and then he just bravely just climbed up the stairs and came and just barged into my room because he demanded that I like cuddle and snuggle with him. So while in the middle of my meeting, I had him sitting on my lap and just answering questions because we were planning about orientation. So it was a little bit distracting, but I think it was it was more of a cute moment rather than embarrassing because he was just adorable. He was just so excited to see what was happening. He was just waving at everybody. So that was the one thing that was more memorable and a little bit embarrassing for me, but it was a good kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, those are definitely cute things. Like especially when like a kid walks into like when you're in class, or like a dog, and you're just like, oh, nice.
Like a good distraction.
Yeah.
What about you, Ian? What was the most embarrassing thing that happened during your live, if you ever had one?
I think so. That probably the two things that come to mind. I have a hard time narrowing it down to probably one. But the two things that come to mind. I was on a Teams call, and you know how when everybody else takes off their video, all of a sudden your face becomes the face. So that happened, and I had no idea that it had happened. Like for whatever reason, I was probably multitasking or looking at something else, and I got a message in Teams from the Dean of International, and he said, "Ian, your face is huge, and you look so angry."
Oh, no.
in the chat, I was like, "Oh, I'm not angry. I'm just thinking." It's like this is my thinking face, but it like all of a sudden I realized I was huge. Like it was just me on the screen, and it was looking at me, staring kind of angrily off into space. The other one is we have a puppy, and so she's about 7 months old. But when she was younger, in the middle of a meeting, we're talking through some stuff, and she comes tearing into the room and sideswipes my legs out from underneath me. And so there was that moment of kind of you're falling backwards, and everybody's sort of laughing and wondering what the heck happened to you. And anyway, the dog collided with my leg. So
That's so funny.
Could have been worse. Made up for it in the end. So yeah, Val, how about you? Anything embarrassing that you want to share?
I would say for me, I've been really lucky. I've only really had 2 instances where my Wi-Fi has cut out or I've had interruptions that way. But the most recent one where that happened was similar to you, Sadiya. We actually organized a Halloween event as well. This one was half of a mystery house tour that we did virtually. So we took you through like a haunted house, and then the second part of it was a scavenger hunt. So the first part was very cool. And during the scavenger hunt, when it came to my part, where I needed to add up the total number of points of how many people accumulated whatever, there goes my internet. So I disappear, and I'm sending messages to my coworkers. I'm like, I'll be back. I don't know what's going on. So then I look, and it shut my tab too. So I'm like, oh my God, I have to find the link now. So I had to go. It took me maybe a minute or two, but that was really fun.
It must have been suspenseful too. Like you just left them, and like right at the time, I can just
like, you know what? No prizes today. Nobody wins.
Wow. One of mine is just I had one, but as you said that, it made me think of another one. I had a test I had to do. It was about a week ago, and it was an online Blackboard test. And even in the email, the teacher says this is a one-time test. No, like you have to submit before like your page closes. I'm like, okay, I think I have a stable internet. Like we're good. I start the test. I'm about halfway done. I got 15 out of 30 questions done, and my page just stops working, and it's just beach ball of death. Just
no.
It's just done. And then I'm like, it's like Chrome is like, your page is not responding. Do you want to close and restart? I'm like, no, I want to stay here and like wait to see if it just wouldn't go. So I closed it. I got back, and it just it submitted the test with a halfway done, and I emailed the teacher. I'm like, so the Blackboard gods weren't on my side today. Do you mind resetting the test for me? And he's like, okay, yeah. And he sent me the test to redo again, but it was kind of a funny moment.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But at least you got to do the test again. Thank gosh.
Yeah, it's good. Even some of the teachers, they appreciate the humor in the emails. I'm like, oh, Blackboard. I actually exact words. Blackboard gods were not on my side today. So
I'm gonna use that one.
Yeah. So some teachers actually appreciate when you put a little bit of humor into it. So it was a funny moment. So then jumping onto that too, what has been everyone's best virtual hangout since March?
Wow.
I feel like there's been quite a few. I don't know if anyone else can agree.
No, I agree. I had a couple of really good virtual hangouts, to be honest with you.
I think for me, I could grab it, even though I showed it to you all already. But I think for me, my favorite one would have been the Paint Cafe event that we hosted for FYE Lakeshore's campus. We painted a cherry blossom painting, and I was the one that hosted it. I've been painting for 10 years. I'm not professional by any means, but it's definitely a nice recreational activity and something that I really enjoy to do on the side of studies and stuff like that. So I walked through, I think we had a great turnout, like almost 30 students came with staff and stuff like that to paint. And yeah, it was just great. We had nice aesthetic music in the back. It was about an hour and a half long. It was just great. And everybody's painting turned out a little bit different, and all of them were absolutely stunning. So that would probably be my top one. And that was the first one that we organized too.
Yeah, I remember actually seeing pictures of some of the paints, some of the portraits too, and you were right, absolutely beautiful. Like I can't even draw a stick figure.
I'm
Sorry,
just gonna say that sounds amazing. Like that's just a vibe. Like doing like creative work, having music in the background. Love that.
I agree. For me, I would have to say the Halloween event that the North team hosted. I was actually a part of the planning process for it. We called it Craftoween, and we basically students registered. We sent them a gift card with a link for the pumpkin carving kit to purchase. So they all purchased their carving kit. They brought a pumpkin. We held the session on Blackboard, and for a lot of the students, myself included, it was the very first time we all carved a pumpkin. So it was pretty successful, if I do say so myself. I successfully carved Baby Yoda onto the pumpkin, so I felt really proud of it. And a lot of students actually afterwards messaged me, and they told me that they had such a fun time. So that would probably be one of the best virtual hangouts that I've been a part of, other than the student leader one that we did over the summer where I met you, Elliot.
Yeah.
That was a fun one too.
Yeah, since you messaged that will that's kind of also one of mine too. Like having those times at work where we've been able to organize student student. I don't want to say workshops. Why is that the word I'm thinking of? But student meetings where I've gone to meet all or most of the student workers within our little group here, and it's been awesome to be able to not only meet them but to play games with them. And also something that I do with my friends too is since March that we've done is we go on FaceTime, make a group chat call, and we play iMessenger games. So we do like a big game like Crazy Eights to everybody, and I find that that's not. I could have said that at the start too, connecting with folks, but yeah, that's another way that I've been connecting with everybody. How about you, Ian?
Oh, sorry, my internet lagged a little bit, but I'm back. So,
Perfect.
Just rolling with it. I think, with I was involved in an event or attended an event over the course of the summer that the base hosted, which had students, employees of Humber, community folks, all talking about allyship. And that was awesome because it was, again, I don't think just this really well-rounded, you got to hear so many different perspectives and voices, and there was kind of the experts doing their presenting, but lots of questions and dialogue, and just really inspiring conversation and good conversation, but also challenging conversation. And so that to me was one of the best, to see all those faces kind of come together and people come together and rally around a major issue that the world is kind of dealing with currently. And then I've done some really interesting stuff with our staff team, just in terms of whether or not be hosting almost question and answer sessions where the employees that work in student success and engagement can just ask me whatever's going on, depending on the department they're working in. So sitting down with athletics and talking through what's happening, and we have whatever the questions might be in terms of what the college is planning and how we're going to move forward. As well as we did over the course of the summer, we did some work at home bingo with the student success and engagement staff team, and that was a lot of fun. So people challenging themselves to go through the list of all the different activities, right? Like go out for a run and you get to check off the box. We gave out prizes once a week, and see, like, again, people come together working from home, but we're all kind of we were committed to once a week coming together and sharing some laughs and some good times. That was it was good. It was really important at that moment in time to bring people together and to think about what was ahead, but also how we can make working from home normal and healthy and well. So it was good.
That sounds so much fun. And actually, the event you're talking about, that's also on our YouTube page and our podcast. So go to Life at Humber and you can check out that. And you reminded me of something too, as you were saying that. One of actually my best virtual hangouts was back in June, when I started a live series with Life at Humber called Room with No Mates. And I had the chance to actually talk with Prince, who is a spoken word poet. And we had this amazing conversation for like 30 minutes on live. And he was just talking about how he uses spoken word poetry in support of all the the movements that were happening at that time with Black Lives Matter. And it's just so inspiring to hear and chat with him. And actually, I got to hand it to that one. That one's been my best hangout since meeting him. It was just amazing. And actually, we got a comment here back on describing one of the most embarrassing things happening to you. And it's, someone was saying, the sister barged into the room while singing, and her video and audio was on during class, and they totally just laughed for a good minute because they were just so unaware that their video was on the whole time, so they could just see the the sister. Oh my, that's a good one. Thanks for sharing that one. We really appreciate that. I can just imagine that. That's fun.
That must have been hilarious.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Well, this brings us to our end. So thank you everyone who tuned in, and special thanks to Val, Sadiya, and Ian for joining us today. We really appreciate everyone coming on live with us today. So if you're tuning into the replay, again, let us know in the comments by commenting replay. This helps us out a lot. So Ian, at the Dean of Students, is there anything else you'd like to share with everyone?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, and one of the things that we're hoping that comes through in all that we do at Humber this year, is that we're trying to make the best of a tough situation. And we know, generally speaking, that studying generally is tough, but the virtual is something that's new for everybody, and it probably isn't what you thought you were going to sign up for when you decided to come to Humber College and to start studying. So we're all kind of doing our best, and that's why we developed a commitment for students as to what this would look like, and we promised to be flexible and find ways to ensure that we were going to be flexible in terms of how we got through this year. The biggest thing for you all is that we're going to continue to offer all of the student supports and services virtually and where we can in person, and we're starting to explore new ways of doing that. We had the fitness centers open for a little while on campus for students who were coming to campus for class, because that's important to people's health and well-being, and when we can get them safe and open again, we will do so. You can learn about all the services at wegotyou.humber.ca, as always. And I think the other thing, recognizing that through all of this, students and employee health and well-being has been kind of our number one focus. We want everybody to be healthy, safe, and well, and we want folks to come out on the other side of this in good shape. And so just remember all of the things that you're reading about around COVID and the ways that we can contribute to healthy communities. So practicing physical and social distancing. Remember, if you are coming to campus, if you're not feeling well, it's important to stay home and get that figured out. And if it passes, and it was just the cold, then great. And if it wasn't, then we've taken things into good care. But just let your faculty member know, your prof know that you're not going to come in, and we're all being a little bit more understanding that that's going to happen more often this year. If you do have a positive test and you have been on campus, there's a COVID reporting email that you can write to. So that's COVID reporting at humber.ca, and they're going to help figure out kind of next steps for you. And that's if kind of you've had a positive test and you've been to campus, or you're experiencing symptoms and you've been to campus. It's all available on the website, humber.ca/updates. And I think the last thing and the most important thing that I've heard from everybody here today is how important it is that for us all to stay connected as a Humber community. Humber's a great place. It's an awesome place to study, or so I hear, because I haven't studied there, but it's an awesome place to work for me. And it's fantastic, as I mentioned in our conversation, to feel the energy of the place and to see that happening online. While it may not mirror exactly what it feels like in person, I recognize that there's a huge need for people to stay connected. And so I encourage you to do so, but recognize that at any point in time, you can reach out to members of the Humber staff team, the folks that are on this chat, this live session. Connect in with us on social media, and we'll respond, because our community is probably the most important thing to us. So and because of that, I think that at the end of the day, when we started all of this, our message from student services and student support, student success and engagement has always been, we got you. I think it continues to be, we got you, or we still got you through all this this thing that we're all going through. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Ian. That was a lot of info. So before we end that chat, we can actually take a quick look through those sites just to give everybody a sneak peek if you want to see what some of those look like. So here you are. There's the Return to Campus site. You can see me right there on the front cover. There's the employee and student information. So we have everyone covered. If you need any information about returning to campus, it's all there right for you. And then the updates page here as well. If you want to know what's the newest information, it's going to be all here. And the We Got You site, where you can access all of our supports and resources available here at Humber. Awesome. So with that said, take it easy, Humber. Be sure to follow us on Instagram by searching Life at Humber, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.